Welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we will tell you about the best, scariest horror movies from the 2000s. So before starting, please like the video and subscribe to our channel for future updates. The decade between 2000 to 2009 was a particularly fruitful era in the horror genre, spawned by a climate of international turmoil and rapid technological advancements in the filmmaking industry. In the post-9/11 era, America was thrust into a paranoid, war-fueled anxiety and grief, and with the internet fully emerging as a dominant force behind modern culture, those anxieties were shared globally as each and every new horrific worldwide event was broadcast in crystal-clear detail onto the computer screens of international households. Here is the list of the 10 best scariest horror movies from 2000s. Let's start. Number 10. Saw, 2004. Saw is essentially a horror-grown thriller with hints of outright violence and shockingly little gore. James Wan and Lee Whannell's nasty little puzzle box introduced one of the most iconic modern horror villains in Tobin Bell's Jigsaw, a murderer of ideals and dastardly creativity. Setting his sights on victims who take their life for granted, Jigsaw constructs a series of puzzles and challenges designed to test the victim's grit and will to live. Jigsaw's essential credo is that if one doesn't value life enough to do whatever it takes to survive, then they are undeserving of it. The film's main action is set against two unlikely allies, chained together in a room with scant clues on how to escape. Jigsaw gives each of them pieces of the puzzle, turning them against each other despite their best efforts to collaborate on an escape strategy. Number 9. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, 2005. In a genre as tried and true as the exorcism film, it's a challenge to come up with a new spin that manages to make the threat of the devil feel fresh and dangerous. With The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Scott Derrickson pulled off just that feat with a mature, heartfelt drama that also chills to the bone when the moment calls for it. Were it not for the heavy horror overtones, The Exorcism of Emily Rose would have probably been positioned as a prestige drama. Supported by an A-list cast that includes Laura Linney and Tom Wilkinson, the film dramatizes the real-life death of Annalise Michel, a woman who was diagnosed with epilepsy after a series of visions and fits. Uncured by conventional medicine, her family turned to the church in a brutal exorcism that ended her life. Number 8. Final Destination, 2001. Final Destination, in its original incarnation, is an effective horror thriller with just enough self-aware humor. The story follows a group of teens, and one horribly ill-fated teacher, after they escape the fiery deaths that awaited them on Flight 180. Thanks to the premonitions of the young, awkward Alex Browning, Devon Sawa, the band of teens exit the flight just before it explodes. And everyone who stepped off the plane with him, whether against their will or not, become the targets of death, an unembodied, relentless force that is constantly setting the wheels in motion for Rube Goldberg-esque death machinations. Number 7. Eden Lake, 2008. The 2000s were a decade filled with horror films about ordinary people doing extraordinary bad things to good people, but Eden Lake may well be the most wrenching. The feature directorial debut from My Little Eye scribe James Watkins follows a young couple, Jenny, Kelly Riley, and Steve, Michael Fassbender, on a planned romantic lakeside getaway that goes horrifically wrong when they confront a gang of unruly teenagers, including a young Jack O'Connell, who has always had a gift for menace. What should be a casual, if confrontational, conversation rapidly escalates from contentious to deadly serious when the local teens reveal themselves as a sadistic force of violence. The consequences for the unsuspecting couple are harrowing, and Watkins ditches flashiness and shock factor gore for an unflinching and all too effective presentation of violence. Number 6. Orphan, 2009. The movie follows a married couple, Kate, Vera Farmiga, and John, Peter Sarsgaard, recovering from the loss of a child in labor. To help the healing process, the two set out to adopt a new member of their family, and they're instantly taken with the well-mannered and all too precious Esther, Isabel Furman, a Russian orphan with remarkable artistic talents and a sugary sweetness. Naturally, that saccharine charm belies deep and despicable capability for evil that Kate almost immediately discerns once Esther is welcomed into their home. If there's an aggressive failing in Orphan, it's the way that John absolutely refuses to believe his wife at every turn, but the film is devoted to such a schlocky, sensationalist reinvention of the demon seed child that it's impossible to take such squabbles too seriously. Number 5. Antichrist, 2009. Antichrist is something between shock schlock and art house cinema. It's vile and unapologetic, getting up close and personal with rotting corpses, genital mutilation, and sex scenes so lurid and lengthy they border on pornographic. And did I mention the genital mutilation, because hoo boy, it's a doozy. Von Trier sparked some bona fide controversy with his explicit, hellish trip down the rabbit hole of guilt and grief, and with two fearless performers like Charlotte Gainsbourg and Willem Dafoe carrying the film, he had a pair of powerhouse talents willing to see the gruesome tale to its brutal, bitter end. Number 4. Drag Me to Hell, 2009. Drag Me to Hell follows an unassuming, generally kind young woman, Christine, Alison Lohman, who chooses the exact wrong moment to act in her own self-interest when she denies a wretched old woman, Lorna Raver, a bank loan, effectively evicting her from her home. That woman turns out to be a powerful gypsy who can lay down one hell of a curse, an SICS a lamia demon on Christine that torments her for 3 days before dragging her alive into the pits of hell. Number 3. The Orphanage, 2007. Produced by Guillermo del Toro, J.A. Bayona's directorial debut follows Belen Rueda, in a stunning and wrenching performance, as Laura, a woman who returns to the abandoned orphanage where she was raised with the intention of transforming her traumatic childhood memories into something good by opening a home for disabled children there. With her husband and her son Simon in tow, Laura soon comes to suspect that the halls of her home are filled with the spirits of dead children, and one of them, a particularly spooky boy in a sack mask, has befriended her son. Number 2. The Hills Have Eyes, 2006. Following the big, bustling Carter family on a road trip through the vast remoteness of American geography, The Hills Have Eyes pits the spirited if woefully outmatched bunch against a clan of cannibalistic mutants in a war of attrition that never shies away from its inherent nastiness. The remake is slicker, better acted, and decades worth of advancements in gore effects make for a brutal, bombastic spin on the mutant carnage. Number 1. The Ring, 2002. An old VHS videotape changes hands. An unsuspecting innocent hits play. What follows is a stream of haunting, skin-crawling imagery. The video ends. The phone rings. 7 days. And before you know it, the specter of an ashen, stringy-haired dead girl is hot on your heels, claiming you for the dead. In Verbinski's hands, The Ring is classy and slick, carried by the impeccable Naomi Watts, and infused with his signature dash of weirdness that leaves a squeamish dread that leaves you looking over your shoulder, over covering your TV set with a sheet, for days. So that's it for today. What do you think of our video? Which one was your favorite film? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video and would like to hear more from us, please subscribe to this channel and turn on bell notification before you go. Thanks for watching us.